Hi everyone, welcome back. It's Ann at Martin House Flowers. Thanks for joining me today. In this video, I wanted to do my part 2 video of April garden checklist, things to do. My last video, I was able to accomplish a few things outdoors, like prune my panicle hydrangeas and my lavender. What else did I do? I planted some tomatoes. But further down the list were a few other things that are actually things to do later on in April. In the meantime, I got a little surprise in the mail yesterday, and that was that I received, while I'm holding my Japanese knife, I received my David Austin bareroot rose. So it just came in the afternoon yesterday, and I was doing a few things and it was pretty cool, so I didn't even open the box. I brought it indoors, and I probably should have just left it in the garage because it's cool, but we keep our house fairly cool in the 60s, low 70s. So we're going to open this today, and also in this video I was able to surprise add a few things to my list that I had been wanting to do. And that was that I wanted to move my pulmonaria in my garden straight ahead here on the, let's see, that would be the east side. I needed to pull those forward. So the ground was nice and soft. We've had a lot of rain this week. We're getting more rain this evening and tomorrow. So I dug those 3 small holes for the pulmonaria, pushed them, moved them forward directly in front of the hostas. So that's done. And then because I received these roses and I wanted to get these in the ground as soon as possible, I dug the 3 holes. I will show you that location. It's going to be on the let's see, that would be the west side, just a few feet away from my hydrangea room. And in the front yard, there's a lot of roses, as you've probably seen if you follow me. I have a bed of 13 roses and some cat's pajama nepeta bordering those roses. And then I have probably 5 or 6 roses along my south yard and leading into the arbor. So I was just sort of wanting that area to be my rose area, because I have planted a rose on the east side, and it just gets, it's the closest thing I have to a shade garden. It gets morning sun and afternoon shade, and I've had 1 rose underneath an obelisk there, and it just did not survive. Probably something to do with the minimal sun, but also to do with the fact that the bunnies like to hang out over there, and the bunny basically decimated that rose because it used to hide out under the obelisk. So in any case, I don't know that I'll be able to plant the roses today. I know I won't be able to, because I did need some mycorrhizae to put in my hole that I'm going to put these bareroot roses in, and I don't have any. I use the last of my plant tone that has biotone in it for my pulmonaria. So I did order from Amazon some biotone, which has mycorrhizae, and I also ordered some rose tone because I do have, as you all know, have several, up to 30 some roses that I need to fertilize in a few weeks once the roses start leafing out. So let's get to it. Let's open the David Austin roses. And I had to look up, I actually didn't order these roses in the year of 2025. I ordered these roses quite a few months ago, back in November. Ooh, and right on the surface are the bare roots, and I am seeing moisture, which is good. Although I have quite a few David Austin roses, I have ordered all of them from either my local garden market in Sycamore. I order from Barb a few roses that she can get her hands on for me, David Austin roses. And then I order a lot of my roses from Heirloom Roses. And I love Heirloom Roses because they do own root roses. They don't graft the roses. But these are direct from David Austin. And the beauty of a rose, a bare root rose, is that you are going to get, number one, a very healthy root. You're not paying the cost of a potted rose. The shipping costs aren't, adding to the costs. So I believe I paid $35 for these, and I couldn't get these varieties previously, and I'm so excited to have been able to get them, and that's why I ordered them as early as last November for a spring delivery. And they ship them to you based on your gardening zone and what's a good time for you to receive and plant your roses. So I'm in Northern Illinois in Zone 5B, and April is a good time. Early spring is a good time to plant your roses. And in fact, when it gets too warm, like even into May, it's almost too late to plant bare root roses because of the temperature of the soil. They like to be planted in cool temperatures. So let's take a look. Trying to see if I have a packing slip before I get into it. And I noticed they don't even seal the box. It's got ventilation. It's just sort of, and the bag is nice and loose. I've watched a few of the unboxings of David Austin roses in the UK, in England, and they come in paper bags over there, and we get them in boxes. So let's just set that down for a minute and read up on what I have. So I received from David Austin roses in Tyler, Texas. Wow, that's amazing. Who knew they'd come from Texas? I thought they would have come from somewhere like Oregon, where Heirloom Roses comes from or ships from. So I have Eustacia Vi, and I'll pop an image of Eustacia Vi. Eustacia Vi is a soft apricot pink rose with multiple ruffled petals. Of the three, she can handle some part shade. She has a strong fruity fragrance. Eustacia Vi, if I recall, is a very soft apricot and pink combination, very soft multi-cupped rose. And it can handle a little bit of shade. It can also, it goes to 4x3, 4 feet high, 3 feet wide. And Boscobel is the larger one. I was inspired by Laura, of course. She, over a year ago, did a rose tour around her garden, and Boscobel was one that she had. I think she had like 3 to 5 roses, or she had 3 and she wanted 2 more to do 5. And it's just the most amazing, how do you describe it? It's sort of a rich pink and coral, big multi-cup rose. Boscobel starts out with red buds that open to coral pink rosettes and has a beautiful myrrh fragrance. And it's just, the scent is absolutely incredible. And oh, and that Boscobel is an own root rose, so it's not grafted, versus Eustacia Vi sounds like it could be grafted. I didn't know that David Austin did roses other than own root. I guess they do have some that are grafted. And then Harlow Carr. David Austin's Harlow Carr is a mid-pink rose with perfect petals, bushy habit, and has a pure rose, old rose fragrance. I believe it's also a 4x3, 4 feet high, 3 feet wide. Boscobel being the largest 4 feet by 4 feet. And it's recommended that they can be planted in the south, east, or west side. So not the north was the only side that it did not recommend. And the back of the garden is north facing, but my raised beds are actually west facing, and my rose garden is south and then southwest side of the garden. So it definitely is a good location where I have it planned at the side of the house where all of my hydrangeas, my panicle hydrangeas are. So let's get to opening. I'm going to grab some gloves. Let's go ahead and open up this bag. I was trying to search the website for instructions. Oh, here we go. We get a planting guide. So let's first take a look at the bare root rose. And I did do some research as to what I was supposed to do. You want to keep your bare root roses nice and moist. And so that's it there. This one is, this is Boscabelle. So she has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 canes, and you want to dig a hole large enough to fit the rose cane or the roots. And I've been reading about how you can mound the center and sort of let these roots sit on a little bit of a mound of soil, and then you want to spread your mycorrhizae around it, and you want to plant the base about 2 inches below the ground. So I'm going to go ahead and read the instructions briefly. I'm already seeing some growth right here. So in the meantime, before planting out your rose, you want to keep it, you want to soak them in water for at least 2 hours prior to planting to really hydrate them. And I brought one of my nice floral buckets. And I think for now, I think it's safe to say I was watching another YouTube video. It wasn't David Austin, and they said they had left their bare root roses soaking for a couple days. So I'm going to check that. I think at the very least I can soak them overnight, because it'll just be overnight. They've been sitting in the box like this already. And I just want to keep them hydrated because I won't be planting till tomorrow when my mycorrhizae or biotone arrives. So this one here is the David Austin Harlow Carr. So she's got actually slightly bigger root. The roots are definitely thicker on these ones, and she has 1, 2, 3 on this, and then 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 canes, and lots of growth coming, a lot of buds already. So it's safe to say that these bare root roses will in fact bloom out this spring and likely flower this year. I'm super excited about that. Wow, this one is huge. This one looks really mature. Whew. I would have thought Boscabelle was the biggest one, but this is, I think, St. Francis and Clare Eustacia Vi. This is Eustacia Vi, which also says St. Francis and Clare. Huh. She is really large. Look at her. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 canes. That really is huge. Harlow Carr. I think they're a little bit more similar in colorway, and I think I'll put those beside each other behind the Bobo hydrangeas. My Bobo hydrangeas are my smaller of my panicles. Even though David Austin says these are 4-foot high roses, I beg to differ. They always end up growing taller, more like, if they say 4 feet, more like 5, pushing 6. So I'm comfortable having them behind the hydrangeas, the Bobo hydrangeas, because the Bobo hydrangeas are really quite dwarf in size in comparison to my my little limes that are right behind me here. You'll notice, as I digress, I have not pruned my little limes behind me yet, and that's because I basically ran out of steam, and as I'm looking out of the greenhouse now, it's starting to drizzle a little bit. So yeah, I think I'm gonna wait till maybe Sunday would be a perfect day to finish my little lime hydrangeas. So I'm gonna soak these overnight. I think it's probably safe to even leave them in here, but I just want to keep them moist, and I don't want them drying out. It's nice and cool in the garage, so it's probably perfectly fine. I wanted to share this exciting new experience with you because I have never ordered bare root roses direct from David Austin before. So I was so excited. It's a great method to get something direct from the source, from David Austin directly. And you can certainly save some money getting ordering bare root versus potted roses. I've gotten David Austin potted roses, and the three that I have from them that I got from my garden market locally in Sycamore, they are definitely larger, um, larger plants in comparison to what I get from heirloom roses. Unboxing of my David Austin roses. I'm so excited. Thanks for being here. I think I will plant them up tomorrow. And also in this video, I planted up my perennial container on the porch. It was kind of a late afternoon day yesterday when I planted it, and it's just been cool and wet the last few days, but I got that done. But unfortunately, the shadows were really strong being late afternoon. But I'm super happy about that because it is a complete perennial container. I have the scabious in the back, the candy tuft, and then I have the perennial violas, and then trailing in front on each side are the vinca, which is basically like periwinkle. So that has five perennials in there, and I'm so happy to be able to have an entire container of perennials. And what I can do with those is obviously perennials are plants that will return year after year, especially if you plant them into the landscape, into the ground, versus leaving them in containers. I have left a perennial in my container previously in the on the patio, the same scabiosa that I planted two of this spring. I've left those on the patio because I forgot about them, ran out of time a couple of years ago, and they did not overwinter in a container. So it's important to note that when you are planting perennials in containers, if you are in a colder zone like mine, I'm in zone 5B in northern Illinois, I need to plant them into the landscape because they don't naturalize in a container. Even if it's a winterized container, they will not naturalize, meaning they'll freeze. Basically, they won't naturalize, like work with the soil and Mother Nature to kind of freeze and thaw naturally in the spring. They will just freeze and die if you leave them in a container. So even though they're perennials in a container, you do need to plant them out if you are in a colder zone. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will include the planting portion as I mentioned, and thanks again for joining me. Sadly, it was time to remove this topiary boxwood that unfortunately did not overwinter. I had tried to do an experiment and leave
this topiary on the front porch. Meanwhile, the other two topiaries that were behind the garage, I ended up bringing those into the greenhouse to overwinter. And this one here stayed on the porch. In one of my previous videos, I was at the Home Depot Garden Center and I decided to do a blue and white perennial arrangement. I had also planted a scabiosa in the urn by the greenhouse, but that one was a nice blue color. This one was more of a pinkish lavender, but I decided it was fine. One of the most beautiful perennials that I found at Home Depot was this Primula Bouquet Perfect Blue Ripple. Unfortunately, the one that I brought home got a little wilted from lack of water, but it will perk up once it gets a good drink. This Primula likes shade, so my south-facing porch isn't exactly shaded, but I think because I'm going to plant it at the back of this container and behind a pillar, it should get some shade. And as I was going through this pot, I was digging up some of the bulbs that were in there. Unfortunately, only one tulip seemed to be sprouting from the container, and I know I had planted several bulbs, so I was just investigating them and pulling out any of the rotten bulbs and left behind anything that looked viable. So we'll see if any more tulips sprout from this container. I also added a trailing vinca to help fill this container, and I'll add more to it if necessary. I had been wanting to do this little project of moving my pulmonaria forward in this bed because once the hostas had grown in, the pulmonaria that I planted last spring were kind of covered, so I wanted them featured at the front of the garden bed. So the ground was nice and soft since it's been raining, and it only took a few minutes to dig the holes and move these perennials forward. I felt really good about getting that job done today. So that finally looks better. The pulmonaria is now centered between the two back hostas. One of them, you can't really see the remains of it from the fall, but soon you'll see it fill in. And I'm really happy with them sitting up front now. You'll be able to see the beautiful blue and pink flowers. And just down the way a few feet was the mama duck, not even phased that I was digging holes just a few feet away. She was quite happy. She probably watched me plant. And one of the last items on my April to-do list was to plant some of my sweet peas into these containers, these large containers that have obelisks. They normally sit on the back patio, but over winter we brought them in because we wanted to try and overwinter my mandevilla that were in there. But prior to having mandevilla in there last summer we had last spring, I also had planted some sweet peas, but they got pretty dried out by the end of June. So this year I need to remember to mulch them as soon as I get these containers transferred to the patio, and to keep the cool soil temperatures and keep these sweet peas blooming throughout June and into July even. I think by mulching them, that will keep the roots nice and cool. I didn't show the containers that I had planted these sweet peas into, but basically these, I had about 3 of these 6-pack, those very thin plastic 6-packs that you get annuals in. I had recycled mine and planted some sweet peas in them, and they definitely were taking a bit of a beating trying to get the deep roots of the sweet peas out. I basically had to squeeze them and then almost tear the plastic off. So at least I got one other season out of them after buying annuals in them last year. You'll notice in my next container to the left that I used my proper deep-rooted trays. They're called root trainers, and they were from Garden Supply. And there's a huge difference in using those versus these plastic 6-pack blister packs, I like to call them. But at least, they were functional. The roots definitely weren't as deep, but enough to, I think, grow these sweet peas quite healthily. So here are the root trainers that come in the deep trays from Garden Supply. They are so much more sturdy than obviously using recycled plastic. You can split them open in the middle, and there I'm showing you the beautiful healthy roots of the sweet peas. I apologize about this angle. It was kind of a corner spot of the greenhouse, and you probably are seeing more of my back, but you'll see in a second how I planted up the four sides of the obelisk. And since the tulips were taking up a lot of space in the container, I thought I would just let it go at just the four. As the sun shines on these sweet peas, we'll see them climb the vines up the trellis, and soon, by about May, we're going to start to probably see some tall blooms on these beautiful sweet peas. I can just smell it now. So thank you so much for joining me on this video. I think I will have to film planting those bare root roses another day, just to keep this video to the length that it already is. I hope you made it this far, and I will see you in the next video. Please remember to subscribe if you haven't already, like, share, and comment. So thanks again. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.